morning again, everyone. Welcome to the Web3 Lounge. We're so thrilled to have you all here. I'd like to start our next session, but before I do, just a couple of quick housekeeping announcements. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors who made our lounge possible: Midnight Oil, Passage Labs, Ethos, Spatial, Solana Foundation, Gen City Labs, and NICAP 3D. As you're walking around, make sure today only, you get a free AR version of yourself. NICAP has their camera cage over here. For free, you can walk in, takes about a minute. You can get yourself digitized for the metaverse. They'll send you on your way. Later this week, you'll get an email with a 3D photo of yourself that you can use in the metaverse. It's pretty cool. So check that out. We also have hot pink sunglasses, so if you didn't get a pair to take with you, please do. Take a few home for your kids or other friends and family that you think might like those. And also we have a free D2 NFT, so there's a QR code. They're scattered around. You can scan that and get your free D2 NFT. Also, on the back of our sign over here, and it'll be on our holding slides as well, you can follow us on LinkedIn to learn more about the latest happenings in the Web3 world. With that, I would like to introduce our next session. Today, we have John Liu, who is the head of product and Web3 and blockchain from AWS, and Eric Forst from Blocksee. They're going to talk about how Web3 is enhancing digital marketing, and they'll have a slide that they're going to share as well, which I believe you'll cue when you're ready. So with that, if you could help me welcome John and Eric.
All right, thank you. Thank you for everyone for joining. And I really must do something about that title. It's such a mouthful to say, isn't it? But very happy to be joined by Eric today. And what we want to do is abstract away all this blockchain Web3 talk and actually focus on the business use case of why marketers, brands should care about this thing called Web3 and NFT. That's the only time I'm going to try to mention it. But it really is about creating new meaningful engagement opportunities with the digital consumer. And with that, let's kick it off. So as mentioned earlier, I'm John Liu, head of product for AWS Web3. Been in AWS for 2 years, but I spent a lot of time in finance and really learning what the financial institutions were doing in the blockchain space in the last 5 years, working with this innovative technology and seeing it broaden from the financial use cases to the engagement consumer use cases, which is what we're going to talk about. Eric, why don't you give a brief intro for yourself, and then we'll dive right in. We have an audio problem?
Hi, I'm Eric Forst, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blocksee. It's a Web3 CRM platform that helps marketers engage with their communities and build relationships with wallets. And my journey as a marketer started back in the 90s, and I used to run corporate marketing departments and was lucky to be there at the birth of building websites and Web 1.0. And then in 2007, I switched from running marketing departments to doing business development for one of the world's first social media listening platforms. Visible Technologies used to do positive, negative, neutral sentiment analysis and influencer identification. Used to do a lot of work with the Group M companies back then. So have just watched the whole evolution of marketing technology. In 2014, I was very fortunate to learn about Bitcoin and become an investor. And I've just really been embracing Web3 and very excited about Web3 technology over the last few years as a way to empower the consumer to have more control of their data and their content, be able to monetize and control those experiences. That's my ethos in Web3, and I think that is the ethos of Web3. So I'm really excited about what it can do for marketing. This was working a second ago.
Well, sharing is all about what blockchain is. So here we are, sharing microphones. So we like to, at AWS, really work back from the customers, and really that's what I like to start. Work back from the consumers that brands are marketing to, and understand why this blockchain technology is so attractive. So the Web3, we'll call it the consumers that you're going to be marketing to, is really the millennials and Gen Z. right? And there are three things that they really do care about, right? It comes down to the transparency, the authenticity of the brand, and then the engagement that they have with the brand. And let's focus on three of those things, right? And see how this technology can help brands connect with the consumers in these three fashions that they actually care about. So transparency, right? All the data, of course, is on this public ledger that people can plug into and see. And transparency, consumers can have more of a choice in how their data is being used, right? Eric, you provide some information around transparency on the blockchain, right?
So we'll get it. Yeah, I mean, Web3, the blockchain is a public ledger. So it's a way for anyone to see what's going on in all of the transactions. So our CTO actually built a Web3 gaming platform for mobile games. And one of the big problems in that space is if you're getting payouts as a developer, or if you're playing for money and you're a consumer, are you really getting paid the right amount? And so being able to go and look up on the blockchain through a blockchain explorer, if you're a game publisher, yeah, okay, my payout's exactly what it should be because I can see all of the transactions that happened. Or if I'm a consumer, yeah, I'm not playing against a bot. This is an authenticated person. I think that's really empowering for users.
And there's also transparency in how that private data is being used. I think that's a key part of what makes this Web3 concept so powerful for both brands and consumers. Now, just because it's on the blockchain and everyone can see doesn't mean that all the private data is on the blockchain. However, the consumers can now control better what data actually shows up into the blockchain because they have more of a transparency into what's there. And they can also control in how the data is being used. Right, I think that's key. So today I go on to the web pages, I click on, do I accept all browser cookies or I actually reject all browser cookies? That's about as much view into the private data that brands are consuming as I have as a consumer. But with some of the blockchain technologies out there now, they could be zero knowledge proofs, or decentralized identities. There's a way that I might be able to have a say into how much of this information can be seen, when it can be seen, and who can use it. And so that's another reason why I think brands should really think about using Web3 as a new marketing opportunity, because you're really tackling what the millennials and Gen Z care about as far as that transparency goes. Now,
Yeah, just to comment on that. So, we really believe that the wallet is the new cookie. Obviously Google's been warning about cookies going away for years, but we believe the cookie is going to be going away. And so within a crypto wallet, you can see everything that person collects. All you know at first is they're just an anonymous wallet address, but I can see if they like red and black NFTs or sports NFTs, what are they into? And what our platform does is give something like a HubSpot form that you can put on any website to collect first-party data. Now you're controlling that data as the brand and able to get a complete profile between a wallet address and a user who opts in to give you that data. Our roadmap, our plan is to let users monetize that data and be able to get rewarded with something like a Blocksee token if they choose to opt in, provide their data as a targeted customer for a brand. So we really believe that users will love that kind of user control and the ability to make the choice if they want to be in the cookie or not, the Web3 cookie, if you will, which is the wallet.
it's about choice, right? It comes down to not my generation, I'm too old, but my children's generation care about that choice. And I think it also leads us to the second point of what consumers care about, right? The engagement side, the choice to choose the brand, engage with that brand, have their voice heard as well. And how does this actually happen? Maybe, it's not going to be a full-on where the consumers can exactly control what a brand actually launches, but they have a voice in what that brand is going to launch. And the NFT blockchain platform allows that to happen. Right? Eric, you were talking a little bit earlier about this whole consumer loyalty engagement type of platform. Maybe you can walk us through?
Yeah, absolutely. So loyalty and rewards are one of the main use cases we're seeing for Blocksee right now. So one of our clients, BitRefill, is a crypto e-commerce store. They're giving reactivation coupons as NFTs to re-engage their customers, give them value that they can claim on OpenSea or through airdrops to the wallets of their customers. I love what Lufthansa is doing, what Starbucks is doing, and they're doing it now. They're doing it this year with NFTs in the loyalty and rewards program. And if you've seen the Forrester research, a lot of loyalty and rewards programs are broken. Only 41% of consumers like their loyalty programs. And the reason is that it's like the brand expects the loyalty from the customer, but the customer also expects loyalty from the brand. And for Gen Z users, for millennial users, they like to feel like they're co-creators with the brand, that they have a piece of the brand. And so through NFTs and the collaboration and the community that allows, they're able to attain that, to achieve that. So with Lufthansa, they have these digital postcards that you get for your trips. And so instead of just a boring old points program, you can actually trade those cards with other users. Starbucks calls them digital stamps. So there's no mention of NFTs, no mention of Web3, but these are on blockchain, so you have the data provenance that goes with it, knowing that this is an authentic copy, not just a copy paste JPEG. I have the smart contract to prove that I own this, that this is mine, or that I earned it. So that kind of interoperability and transparency through blockchain, we think is critical, and it's something that consumers will expect and want as we move forward.
That's definitely one aspect of engagement, the whole loyalty, trying to incentivize or gamify people. And there's the other type of engagement, which is something like what Nike's doing, for example, or Adidas are doing, right? In this case, they issue out NFT or some type of digital artifact that sits in a consumer wallet, and the consumer now can design, for example, their own digital sneakers, which can immediately, well, from a company standpoint, you love it. It immediately gives customer signal as to what your consumers are caring about. Is pink in, or is it out this season, right? And from a consumer's perspective, that's engagement that we didn't have before, right? The ability to say, I want my design in a particular way. I want this particular color. I am influencing what this brand is actually doing. And importantly, what Nike's been doing very well is getting that community aspect involved as well. It's not just me creating a digital sneaker or anything like that. I'm there with other people who could be runners, who could be doing something that I care about, but I can engage with this community. And in the digital world, engaging with this community, connecting with something is very important. So
Just to follow on that, one of our most exciting client engagements right now is with one of the top children's toy brands in the world, not the one that you spoke earlier, working with one of the top brick and mortar retailers in the world. And so if you buy the doll, the collectible in the store, the physical object, they give you a unique code on your receipt. You take the receipt, you plug it into the website, you get the digital collectible version of the doll that you bought in the store. And that now is not just a digital version that you could bring into metaverse experiences, which is great, but it's also like your fan club membership pass. So when the movie premiere comes out, this is your ticket. When there's special events, this is your pass. So that is the power of feeling super engaged and loyal to the brand through digital provenance of NFTs, and connecting it to physical objects. Phygital is a word you might hear. And there's, one of the things Nike is doing is they're taking NFC chips, putting it in the sole of the shoe. So, if you're buying a $1,000 pair of collectible Nikes, and then you want to put that on your avatar in the metaverse, you can do that kind of that mirror that to the metaverse. And also just have the digital provenance, the digital certificate that you own it, that it's real, and it's connected to the physical object.
indeed, the metaverse is still a thing, right? It's still being built on in the background. Maybe the hype's gone a little bit, but companies are investing very heavily in this space. So now that we know why consumers really care about these three things, right? These authenticity, the transparency, the engagement. Now let's take a look from a brand, why you would want to use technology to engage with consumers in such a way. Now, over the last 2 years, probably 320 major brands have launched NFT-related products, and all different types, from the one-time collectibles to the ongoing utility. And about 90% or so of those that have listed market caps have market caps greater than $1 billion. So what we really take away from this is that brands are experimenting and pushing in this space, but it really does take a lot of capital behind doing this because this is an investment, right? Mattel said earlier, hey, there's a lot of regulatory aspects that they need to consider. There's a lot of brand research that they actually need to actually go through. So that's why these big companies, right, the ones with the big budgets, I think, are the ones that are going to be pushing into the Web3 adoption.
If I could comment on that, I would also say that many small and medium-sized businesses are doing this as well and really taking advantage. In fact, my friend Nathan, who's sitting here, is one of our clients. He has a children's book publishing company called Fair Share Publishing. They're putting copies of the books as NFTs. And this, again, speaks to the use case before. This has always been a problem in publishing. Is the author getting paid the right amount? How many books did I sell? Do I know how many I sold? I can look it up on the blockchain and see exactly how many because they are all sold with NFTs. Snoop Dogg's been complaining about this a lot lately in terms of, are musicians getting paid the right amount, through online streaming services. So, yeah, it's small, medium, and large-sized brands that I think have amazing utility for this. For one of our customers who's a small business recently told me that we saved them $10,000 because the widget from our platform that you can put on your website is basically free to use. We'll make money in the long run on transaction fees, but it's a way for any brand with any budget to be able to put Web3 experiences on their website very easily and have the on-ramps through a Stripe integration with a credit card and an email, that no need to have a crypto wallet or know anything about Web3 to get into the digital provenance, digital ownership, and experiences that you can empower with this technology.
Yes, it is really good to see the tools that are abstracting away the complexity. That's what I mentioned earlier, right? It's a lot of this Web3 NFT. No one really cares about the underlying, just like nobody cares about a server of a certain instance size. They just want to use it and benefit from what the technology actually enables. So from the brand perspective we mentioned earlier, it's a good avenue to get engagement with the consumers. Now there's another very important fact, which is combating the data deprecation that's occurring for a lot of the brands. You have to respect consumers' privacy, but the flip side of that, in signing all these I reject cookies and all of that, is the brands now lose their ability to connect directly with the consumer because they lose the ability to create this 360 picture of what does my consumer care about, right? And this is even doubly more complicated by the fact that the digital consumers, operate across different devices, operates across different browsers. So you have to track them through this funnel. And it's already very challenging. And if you continue to lose data along the way, how do you actually create this 360 picture of your consumer? Well, Web3, that wallet and the NFT, this token or cookie as you like to call it, presents an opportunity, right, for the brands to create this picture again. In this case, the consumers will have the choice to opt in. So they knowingly come in and say, yes, I will participate in whatever it is that I'm signing up for. I'll get your NFT, and you can track me, but I know that you're tracking me. And I also get some type of ongoing utility from getting this NFT. I think this is a very important part, right? It's not a once and done thing. It's an ongoing utility that continues to engage the consumer. Right? That's a key part, I think, of why brands are so interested in looking at this technology. Yeah. Anything to add? With the CRM, I think, comes quite valuable when you're trying to engage with the consumers on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So the CRM piece, you can access, with Blocksee through our front end, through our dashboard, but we also have APIs that you can integrate into other experiences. And we recently just started an engagement with a Web3 company called Edge and Node. They run a blockchain called The Graph. And the graph is basically going to be something like Wikipedia on blockchain. So everyone who publishes to it or edits connects a wallet, and you have this digital trail of whoever published to this browser. One of the experiences within that is job searching, and recruitment is a marketing problem. How do I reach the candidates that I want to attract to my brand? So they're looking at how our APIs can power something like a Web3 job search engine, where an NFT can hold all of your credentials. It can hold your resume. It can hold your diplomas. Those can be digitally authenticated, and all of that can be tracked within an NFT. So I think that's where CRM can power all kinds of experiences, whether it's for a recruitment marketer or for just traditional brand marketer, being able to see exactly who is my community, being able to build lists of community members based on their wallet address, and it's either private or not, whether they've opted in, is just really powerful. And so, we call Blocksee a Web3 CRM, but right now it integrates to HubSpot or to Salesforce so that if you're airdropping NFTs, it can also trigger an email list. So if I have their email, when I airdrop the NFT, it will also integrate to a HubSpot email list, and that can get pushed out. So, we don't see Web3 at all in a silo. It builds on top of Web2. It includes Web2, and so something that you can try it out.
Yeah, that's a good catch, right? It's the integration of what's called the Web2 or off-chain data with this Web3 kind of connected world that exists. So it's not just a blockchain that lives in a silo by itself. It's not just off-chain data that lives in a silo by itself. There's now actually technology connecting the two, so you can have all that intelligence that you've gathered across the consumer, your first-party data that you've already had, and connect it with this new source of first-party data that you might be getting on top of the blockchain. So then to recap, when I think about the consumers and the brands and why they want to engage, brands have a new way to connect with these digitally aware consumers or digitally native consumers, the ones that care about transparency and authenticity. And they have a new way to really track and construct this 360 picture that still respects privacy, right? That still respects privacy. And they're able to ultimately tailor the experiences for the consumer, which benefits both sides, right? The consumer's more happy, I feel like I've got custom, and the brand's more happy because, well, they're able to move some goods and connect with the consumers. So as the brands are actually using this technology, maybe we should talk a little bit about what's changed in this technology between now and maybe a year ago, right? As enterprises or even startups are actually building in this space, they do need the technology to be more accessible, as I've mentioned. So you got to abstract away a lot of this blockchain things, which I think Blocksee does a pretty good thing of doing. It's like some API endpoint you mentioned, and you get valuable data out of it. Can you tell me a little bit more about what type of data you're pulling from there?
So we launched our MVP using something called an RPC node provider, and that's a way to get an index of the public blockchain that's out there. So we don't have to set up our own node and read directly from the chain. But the quality of that data, the speed of that data was pretty fragmented, and it was expensive. So we were really happy to meet John and meet the AWS team. So we're actually using the Amazon managed blockchain as a way to get our Ethereum data, and it's fast, it's reliable. We get lots of credits, which is great for a startup in Web3 right now, trying to make it through crypto winter. And it's just connecting us to this whole ecosystem of other Web2 partners and Web3 partners within the AWS ecosystem. So yeah, we're really happy to be working with you, and we love the speed and reliability of that data.
Thanks very much. Hopefully it's more than just credits we support you with. Like, we're here to make sure everyone succeeds, right? And I think when I saw Blocksee's platform, what excited me most was it pulls two important things. One was the balances of a token that's held across the world, across all history. And why is that important for consumers? Well, that tells me what the consumers, for brands, because it tells me what the consumers are actually buying, what they care about at any point in time in the history, right? And so what Blocksee does now and says, well, go find me any wallet that has held a particular type of NFT. It could be a Nike NFT, it could be a Mattel NFT, who knows, right? Now you've identified that consumer. You can do, quote, targeted advertising to that particular wallet, right? Can you airdrop or actually give them free incentives to participate more? Absolutely. So that's what Blocksee is now enabling to do. It's got this repository of all these wallets. You don't know who's behind the background, but you know they care about certain things. And then it also shows you, I think, some of the transactions. You're able to display the transactions that this particular wallet has done. And that's important because it shows you the purchase profile of this wallet. Do they constantly buy things? Are they a once and done type of consumer? Okay, now you can basically replace all this abstracted wallet with almost like customer personas behind it. Right? So tools like what Blocksee's done is what's making this space very exciting for brands to continue to come in and use this as a digital marketing avenue. And maybe, I think, Eric, you can highlight the challenges, right, that you saw as you were moving in from Web 2 to Web 3, which led you to create Blocksee.
Exactly. If you can pull up the slide that we provided, it'll show you the solution that we're creating. If it's up there, let me know when it's up. But basically, yeah, so my co-founder, Josh Hashimzada, is a NFT artist and also a professional social media ad buyer. To build his community and to market to his community before Blocksee, he had to use this huge suite of fragmented tools to find the lists of wallets, copy and paste them into a spreadsheet, build allow lists, mint the NFT, build token-gated communities. So we've basically built a Swiss Army knife for Web3 marketers where you can just do all of that stuff easily in one platform. So yeah, I think you can really unify this. I was working for one of the first ad networks back in 2005, and we will debate with other, founders from back then who invented pixel targeting, and we called it behavioral targeting, and that really creeped people out. So we changed it to personalization, which is what we all call it now. But yeah, those behaviors are there in the wallet, and you can learn so much about your consumers, and you can run AI, which we're doing, on all of the wallet data to understand those different audience segments, just like you're used to in Web 2.
So now we've talked about how consumers can reconnect a bit with their brands. The brands can connect, again, with the consumers. But the blockchain technology doesn't stop there, right? The foundation that it's actually enabled brands to build on, I think, is where it gets really exciting. Once you have a particular token dropped in, you can continue to evolve that token to change how it looks, right? Programmatically change how it looks because of how programmable the technology that's on blockchain is. Smart contracts. You can program to do certain things. You can program it to change its view. You can even unlock more behaviors as people are kind of incentivized to do things, right? And it's all on this open network that people can plug into and connect. This is a key part, right? You don't have to build everything yourself anymore, and you don't have to build it so that no one else can access it. You build it, and you can put in the proper protections of security and privacy around it. But then other companies, other brands can now connect into whatever it is that you've built. I think this is why you see, again, brands like Nike so easily reaching out and connecting to maybe electronic arts, right? Like, again, the NFT is already there for you to kind of build with. It's the same thing that Adidas, Coca-Cola, all of them are actually doing in this space. Maybe, I think you could talk a little bit about the toy company you were talking about, maybe broadening into the other experiences that toy company can now enable because they have a digital token for that consumer, right? To continually engage that particular consumer. Is that something you can share with us?
Yeah, I mentioned before that avatar of that toy that you bought in the store can enable access to the movie premiere or the metaverse, but that dynamic aspect's really important. So if you think about an NFT of a professional sports player and their team changes, the smart contract can be programmed so the jersey automatically changes to the Dolphins from the Bills if there was that type of a trade that goes on. So yes, so the dynamic evolving aspect of the world can be reflected within the digital experience automatically through these dynamic NFTs. So NFTs aren't just this fixed thing that never changes, can actually adapt to the real world, which is really exciting.
And maybe we can open up for some questions now from the audience.
Hi, who's got questions or even comments?
I was just wondering, when you talk about dynamic NFTs, you're going back to Web2 technology, right? Because you have to go to a centralized database to get that New Jersey picture. So if we're relying on centralized databases anyway, why don't we just do all this centralized as opposed to doing it over Web3 technology?
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, kids these days don't really trust centralized authority, right? And many people don't trust experts or centralized authority. So, there's a decentralized network called Chainlink, which is a network of validators that validate real-world activities, real-world actions, real-world pricing data. And they're providing that on a decentralized platform, which in many ways is more trustable because there are maybe thousands of node providers who are hosting that data, and they're all validating each other's transactions. So that's why we're in a world now where there's a big trust problem. There's a big trust issue. So decentralization, I think, is a way to really break through and connect to younger consumers, especially who feel like my generation has let them down with centralized expertise. So I would say that's the main reason why it's super important to look at how decentralized technology can provide that layer of trust that Web 2 does not provide.
Yeah, and I like to take that from two angles too. One is the possibility of this technology, right? Certainly there are some brands that are putting their entire IP directly onto the blockchain itself, right? It's so that even if the brand disappears today, all that information is already stored on the blockchain. Sometimes they use the off-chain services you mentioned. It could be decentralized IPFS, like storage services and whatnot. That's one way. But the other extreme is that the information is already encrypted onto the blockchain. Now, we don't have to go all the way to there, right? There's always going to be a balance between centralized brand names that are trusted and this decentralized network, right? That's what's the key to the next level of adoption. People here are buying Mattel things because they trust Mattel. They trust that it comes out with quality products. That's already a trust in a centralized entity, right? But why do they want to build it on top of this blockchain? Again, one of it goes to the transparency. I can see what's happening. The other is the openness of the blockchain. Mattel can now very easily connect with other brands. They don't have to have this closed API that people have to connect and that Mattel has to maintain. Importantly, other brands can build similar experiences too, right? So if Mattel wants to connect to other brands, that network, that open network with the same language, the same, we'll call it interoperability, is already there for Mattel and the other brands to plug into.
You mentioned earlier that you work with first-party data, and then you brought up Chainlink. And if I understand it correctly, Chainlink does work with third-party tokens. So I would like to understand from a provenance perspective how that differs and how you really can validate from a personalization perspective that you have, I would say, the right user in front of you.
I'll take a little bit of that. And what you hit on is the blending of third-party data and first-party data, right? So Chainlink definitely is an oracle, and it's listening to all this information. Some of it's going to be off-chain, some of it's going to be on other networks, right? How do you link all that activity with a particular wallet that's on-chain? So there's technology in between that does this. There are services that we work with, customers like Magic.Link, for example. They make this seamless integration possible of on-chain data that's being generated. Think of that as first-party. Optional choice by the consumer to link their off-chain ID onto that wallet, right? It's a choice, right? The consumer now chooses to link that ID onto the wallet, and all that off-chain information can flow in or flow both ways, right? And the chain link, whether it's oracles or whether it's something more traditional where it's just like a database that you plug in and read the data, all of this is now connected.
Other questions?
I'll just add to that. So there's this thing called zero knowledge proofs, ZK proofs, that you might be hearing a lot about in the Web3 world. And this is a mathematical concept that's been around for 40 years. But when you have a ZK proof, you can have something like KYC, where somebody submits an ID that goes through a validator who anonymizes that data and then verifies it into the blockchain. So I know I have a real person who identified themselves, yet they can participate anonymously in the community as a validated user who has given their first-party data that I know is real data into a registration form that they opted into, that then gives me that full picture of the user like John was talking about.
Other questions? Comments? Okay. Well, if we don't have anything else, I'd like to ask you to please give John and Eric a round of applause.